Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire intellect.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
Good afternoon and welcome to ChrisXradio. I am the aforementioned X-Man, along with Captain Jack, who is once again finally back in black. He has assumed control of the airwaves, and he will maintain control of your airways here on Trump Day. Okay, it's Trump Day. Every day's Trump Day. Well, every Wednesday is Trump Day to us. But nonetheless, it is Trump Day here, and we come bearing a gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. We got a lot to get into today. As always, if you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV. 281-558-5738. Got a lot to get into, but did you guys... I kind of felt bad, but he did it pretty well, actually. Did you see old, bitter Luke Skywalker's pants fall down as he was presenting that BAFTA award? It was a BAFTA or whatever award in London last night. While he was standing there, but behind the podium, his pants fell down. It's kind of like it would be a comedy skit, but it wasn't. I'm assuming he probably had maybe a rented suit or whatever. Whatever I felt out, but I got to give him credit because I do not like, Mark Hamill. The guy's a total schmuck and he's a jerk. He was great as Luke, but man, he grew up old and bitter and weird. But that being said, he's presenting the award. He literally never missed a beat. His pants fell down, I think, all the way down to his knees. He reached down. You can't really see them. You can see that they fell down, but fortunately for the blocking from the camera of the pants was the podium. Well, he pulls them back up, and then he's talking the whole time. He's doing what he's supposed to do like a professional, and then tucks his pants in and does everything, finishes what he's doing. I was like, man, gotta admit, he handled it quite well, actually. And I was impressed. That's the most impressive thing I've seen from old Luke Skywalker in about, 40 years. 50 years? I don't even know. How many years ago did Star Wars come out? Was it 78? 77? It's almost a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So there you go. Anyway, okay, so that I just had to mention that. Saw it and I saw people dogging on him or whatever. There's plenty to dog on the guy about. But apparently is he 70? I think he's like 73 years old. So you kind of forget he's an old guy now. But he is this old, bitter Trump hater. But, like I said, there's a lot of people that suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Nonetheless, oh, boy, they're out today. I'm watching the shift in Fox News, by the way. I don't know if you guys have been I say I'm watching it. No, I'm monitoring it because I don't watch Fox News very often. But watching Fox News, I was listening to Kill Me this morning, and I liked Guy Benson's take a little better a little while ago. But they're starting out. Okay, what I'm referring to is President Trump calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator without elections after Zelensky complained about the Ukraine not having a seat at the diplomatic talks on Tuesday between the U.S. and Russia. So for some reason, he just decided, Trump's people, Marco Rubio and the others, met with the Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov or whatever, or Sergei, whatever. Maybe he's gay, sir. I don't care. Whatever. So they met with him. But just earlier before that, Rubio and J.D. Vance met with Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference just last week in Germany. And Zelensky was like, oh, the meeting was good. And then all of a sudden, because he wasn't at this meeting with Russia, he kind of tore into Trump. And Trump doing what Trump does, Trump lit up that little corrupt a-hole. Yeah, that's why I just called him an a-hole. Because I don't know what you guys think you know about Zelensky, but he ain't a good dude. And I think he's a grifter. I think he and his whatever grifter pals are getting very, 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 very wealthy. And for some reason, they realize that gravy train has come to a halt. Donald Trump does not like him. And there's a good reason for it. Because Zelensky and Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in that part of the world. And people have completely forgot that because Russia invaded them, Vladimir Putin. Yeah, I know it's terrible. It's not right. Doesn't absolve Russia. Doesn't absolve Putin. He's a dirtbag. He is he's an old Russian, KGB dirtbag who wants to get the band back together. So I get all that. But that being said, because of the narrative, because of the propaganda, who gets paid to push left-wing propaganda in our country with your tax dollars, people have all of a sudden thought this actor-comedian guy all of a sudden was a great president. No, he's not. He's playing a part. The dude comes over here in his little war outfit and give me more billions of dollars. I'm Volodymyr Zelensky. I need more billions of dollars. I don't know where half the billions of dollars went that the Biden administration sent to us. And then he attacks Donald Trump for having a meeting with Russia. Do you guys think you're going to be able to get this war over without having to negotiate with Russia, the second or maybe third most powerful country on the planet? Just because they're not good dudes does not mean you're just going to go over there and tell them what to do and that's how it's going to be. It's not the way it works. So all of the suckers buying into everything, and then, of course, Trump, there's a reason why he did it. He sort of tore into Zelensky on True Social. I mean, as much as you can tear into somebody on the internet. Trump said, think of it, a modestly successful comedian, Volodymyr Zelensky, talked to the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go to a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but that war that he, without the U.S., without Trump, will never be able to settle. Trump, of course, mentioned that hundreds of billions more have came from Europe. The U.S. has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed while the U.S. will get nothing back. That's kind of a good point, right? Why didn't Sleepy Joe demand equalization? And that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us. We have a big, beautiful ocean as separation, okay? He went on to write, which is true, and why Fox News, I know not all of Fox News, but certain people on Fox News are ignoring the fact that Zelensky is refusing to have elections. He refuses to have elections. It's very low in Ukrainian polls. And the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. So Trump goes into his rhetoric, a dictator without elections. Remember when they were calling Trump a dictator? Isn't it funny how the American media and those on the left, and including some of those, quote unquote, on the right, are mad when Donald Trump calls out a leader of a country who's refusing to have elections as a dictator, but none of them, all of them, oh, it's okay. You can call Trump a dictator. What? Yeah. He went on to write that, Zelensky refuses to have the elections. He said, a dictator without elections better move faster. He's not going to have a country left. I know it's been kind of a stalemate, I guess, but Ukraine's not going to win this war. There's no way. And listen, I know the only reason it's been this, stalemate to a certain degree is because of the money coming from the rest of the world, including us, where we're bearing the brunt of it. Now, Trump added that his administration has had a significant presence in Europe and in Saudi Arabia over the past week, pushing for peace, successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine, Trump said, But Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions have unnecessarily died. Now, remember, Marco Rubio and NSA Director Michael Waltz, Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, they met on Tuesday with Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs Sergei Lavrov. So I think I said the wrong name earlier. In Saudi Arabia, Ukraine was not present, why would they be present? This was the very first meeting of the U.S. coming in and meeting with them. It could only be detrimental. Now, the New York Times Kiev bureau chief, Andrew Kramer, reported that Zelensky lashed out at the Trump administration after the meeting. All right, you want Russia at all your meetings, partner? No. Decisions on how to end war in Ukraine cannot be made without Ukraine, nor can any conditions be imposed, Zelensky said from Turkey, where he had traveled as part of a planned tour of the Middle East. We were not invited to this Russian-American meeting in Saudi Arabia. It was a surprise for us. I think for many others as well. Why was it a surprise? It was announced a week before, at least. Trump talked to him. Trump talked to Putin. Trump said, we're going to have them start meetings. This is the beginning discussions of ending a war. And once again, Rubio and J.D. Vance, the vice president, just met with Volodymyr Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference just last week in Germany. And Zelensky was like, the discussion was good. It's almost like Zelensky doesn't want the war to end. Now, I can't imagine that's fully the case, but this is the same country that you're not getting the $2 billion. The same country that hired Joe Biden's son, Humper Biden. They're paying him, what, $50,000 a month? And God knows how much money was flowing in and out of that country to get access to the VP. Yeah. You guys remember all that? Yeah, all that's true, by the way. Oh, over the weekend, by the way, somebody had sent me, T4 had sent me an interview. It's Sean. He's a podcaster. I can't remember his name. Hold on. Let me go look because I'm going to feel like an idiot if I say the wrong name. I keep saying Sean Carney, but I don't think it's Sean Carney. It is, let's see here. That's not it. That's not it. Nope, that's not it as well. The lady's name is Lindy Lee, and she's a former Obama-nista, Clintonista, and also working with there. Let's mute that. So here, but an Obama-nista or whatever, and she goes on to Sean Ryan. Sorry, took me way too long. Her name is Lindy Lee, and she was Chinese. Immigrant, came over the right way with their parents when they're kids. She was, raised in Philadelphia, very much a Democrat. Well, not really. She's more conservative, but she was raised in a Democrat area. So she said there was no opportunity, whatever, to be a Republican. You just couldn't do it. So she was a Democrat. And then she went and worked to raise millions of dollars for these Democrats. Knew Joe Biden, worked in the White House. Kamala Harris knew them all. And she spills the beans. She started leaking. When she saw what they're doing, she was like, all of the things that we've talked about, every single thing that we've talked about on this program, we've been right on. Every single thing. And she goes to confirm it because she was there. About Joe starting to lose his marbles, about the corruption, about Hunter Biden, and it was his cocaine in the White House. And all of these of him taking over after the debate, and then Jill running the country, and also these unelected 20-somethings. Oh, remember Elon Musk is unelected. There were unelected 20-somethings that were running the White House when they brought on the tranny onto the front lawn who flashed his boobs to everybody. Remember that? You guys kind of forgot about that, right? No, I didn't forget. Yeah, when that happened, that was 20-year-old leftist crazed radicals bringing these trans radicals to the White House. That's why they were hanging rainbow flags from the White House. Those were the social media people, the communications department that was going on. Everybody's forgot. Remember when the two dudes were having sex in one of the rooms? You guys remember that? Up there, how and she was talking about how embarrassing that was. Yeah, that's your Democrat Party. That is your party, folks. People have forgotten how terrible it is. And now they're focused on what? The media telling us how awful Trump is. He's so mean. He's so mean. I hope he's as mean as hell. And he's so mean that Vladimir Putin stops invading foreign countries. And he stops the war in the Middle East. They've already got the ceasefire, but you saw, I'm sure, and you heard a guy talking earlier about the 2 children, the toddlers and the woman who were kidnapped from Israel, and now they're sending their bodies back. We don't know when they were killed or what happened, but I'm telling you guys, you've heard my take on where I'm on that. So anyway, so we got that's going on. Heard everybody talking about that, so I had to open up with that. I'm sorry, I should have talked about some of the other stuff. The U.S. State Department has designated 6 Mexican drug cartels, the Salvadorian MS-13, Venezuelan Tren de Aragua, as foreign terrorist organizations. That's kind of interesting. We'll get into that a little later. Biden's Department of Health and Human Services only spent about $20 billion on grants to help illegals purchase cars and homes, as well as get loans for startup businesses, among other services. So, $20 billion? That's just what we know of. President Trump has ordered the Department of Justice to terminate all remaining Biden-era U.S. attorneys, saying we must clean house. It's funny, the Democrats clean house every single time when they take over, and then soon as the Republicans take over, you can't fire everybody. You can't, you monster. Donald Trump is such a monster. He's a terrible monster. You know how we know? Because we told you he's a monster. So you need to believe everything that we say. He's a monster. These people are propaganda. They're Pravda. They're dirtbags. And Holly Hansen has a great article, an update to something we talked about last week and heard the Amigos talking about on Friday, where KPRC Channel 2, Joel Eisenbaum did this report that started off with him showing books being burned and Adolf Hitler, and he's going after Cy-Fair ISD or whatever. Wait, what? Anyway, I saw the commercial. I'm like, what? Eisenbaum's usually a pretty good reporter. And it was funny because El Senador had almost the exact same take. He was like, this guy usually does a pretty good job. What's going on here? And then Wesley Hunt called in, and, of course, Representative Tom Oliverson, and they were just taking him to task. Wesley was reporting them to the FCC. They're gone. We got an update from Holly Hansen. So, but she's not here today. I've just got her story. She's off, I don't know, probably sliding around on a mountain somewhere up in the Rockies. I thought the Rockies would be a lot rockier than this. You know, that John Denver, he was full of squat, man. All right, we're way over. Let's go and take a break. You're listening to Chris X Radio. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV. Can't believe it's already Wednesday. It's already Trump Day, folks. Tomorrow will be our Friday show on Thursday because the Amigos will take over on Friday. But until then, we control the broadcast. And you want to know who let the dogs out? It was Captain Jack. 281-558-KSEV. I'm Chris X. We're just getting rolling. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Chris X Radio.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
You don't sit behind a desk every day to earn a living. You're out and about making it happen. And sometimes you get a little bit behind on your paperwork, like bookkeeping and paying your taxes. It's easy to get behind on paying your taxes. It happens to the best of us. And you know what happens next. The big, bad IRS comes knocking on your door. And when that happens, you need to call the good old boys at the Tax Doctor. Let them do what they do best. Deal and negotiate with the IRS so you pay the lowest you can in back taxes that the law allows. We are a 100% U.S.-based company, and we've saved our clients millions over the years in back taxes. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call my friends right now at the Tax Doctor and learn more.
800-264-1289. 800-264-1289. 800-264-1289. That's 800-264-1289.
Hi, folks. Dan Patrick here. Beautiful and healthy trees increase your property value, but sick, ugly trees will decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace. That's why you need to call my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. I've known them for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. Well-fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment. Call Louis Flory now at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, receive a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. That's Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Listen to the Real Investment Show podcast. Same show, your schedule.
I can understand why we can't get more than 2.25% growth out of the economy. It's the debt, stupid.
Listen to the Real Investment Show podcast at realinvestmentadvice.com. And now, back to Chris X Radio on the Voice of Texas.
I remember playing this song back in the 90s. It's been a strange week. I won't go through and roll off a whole, stroll down memory lane like we did yesterday. I told everybody in the last few days, on Monday, we talked about a guy named Johnny Simmons, who was a drummer for multiple local bands, and he was back, a veteran of the 90s cover scene. In fact, he's the best drummer around, probably. There's some good ones, but he's excellent. He was amazing. He passed away unexpectedly. Was it Sunday night, maybe? And then I found out night before last, which would be Tuesday night, I guess, or no, Monday night, that our old drummer from my band with Sean, my buddy, Sean Guitar Harold, from Catch-22, he passed away. It was bizarre, just within 2 days of each other. And these guys were in different cities. They weren't, around each other. So it's bizarre. And we yesterday, if you missed the first hour of yesterday's show, if you want to go get a rundown memory lane of the Houston club scene back from the late 80s through the early 2000s, that was kind of the cover scene that we played. And I kind of talked about that. But anyway, it was, talking about some of the songs. And I at one point, Sean had a cassette. It was the only time we ever recorded our band, Catch-22. We were playing at a club called Millennium off 1960. And it had been multiple things. And anyway, we went and played there a couple of times. And we had just gotten together, had one rehearsal, and I joined the band. And then we went and played. And Sean took one of those old cassette recorders. You remember those old little tape recorders, the ones that you have to push, I think, the two buttons at the same time? He had one of those, and he brought it, and he set it up next to his monitor so he could get a good recording of how his guitar sounded in the mix. Now, he was just recording off the monitor, so the guitar's louder and everything. He gave me, about 10, 12 years ago, he gave me the cassettes. I digitized them. And then I put them on I put them on Dropbox and sent them to him. So he had copies, and he put on an old hard drive somewhere. Hadn't thought of it in years. Well, I got flooded with Harvey, lost the cassettes, and then I didn't have it stored in a cloud anywhere. So I'd lost them, and I asked Sean, hey, man, if you ever happen to find it, well, he found it. So I'll get together with him this weekend and get the digitized copies. I'm going to put them somewhere on the cloud. So this time the next natural disaster occurs, I'll still have access and won't lose it again. But thank God he found it. And I'll store it in multiple locations. But I may even play some of that for you. But it's mainly Sean's guitar, which, by the way, is amazing, because he's an amazing guitar player. But the fact that was the only time we ever recorded anything. And it was just, I can't remember how many songs we recorded or he recorded. And he was literally just doing it so he could get a good quality sound. And I remember the guy running sound for us was Rob from the band called Jerk, if you remember that band. And he was a super cool guy. They were really cool dudes and were a good band. They were there before us, and, of course, while we were there as well. But he was running sound for us over there, so... But I remember us playing over there, and it was like, man, we were just getting started. It was October 3rd, 1997. That's when we were doing that. And then, of course, he and I got together and did the acoustic show here on the program it was our back in 2020. I thought, for some reason, I was thinking it was 2022. No, it was in 2020. It was 5 years ago. And I'm like, all right, Sean and I are going to have to do another music show for a holiday. So we'll try to strategize, do a little strategery, and get that lined up. And I want to go back and pull some of the songs that we were playing from that band. I mean, it was a long time ago, but, man, it was good music. And that was when the scene was great. And then, of course, shortly after us, the scene died. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. The world has changed. Anyway, okay, so we're going to take another break. And when we come back, I'm going to go through Holly Hansen's article about this with the update from KPRC Channel 2's story, which has got an interesting update to it. And I'm glad Holly's writing over at the Texan.news. So if you want to go read it, get a scoop before I get to it in the next segment, you can do that. And if you want to get in line, we'll start taking calls after I do that as well. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Let's go ahead and take the break. We'll come back. We'll hit on this. For some reason, Joel Eisenbob, who's, like I said, I like Joe's work. Joel's been a good reporter. He's one of the few around town that I actually like because he's generally fairly even-handed. But this one's the report started off like him at a desk, and then it kept flashing to the old black and white footage of Nazis burning books and Adolf Hitler, and then some, not directly but indirectly, comparing it to Cy-Fair ISD and the school board. Oh, there's an election coming up. Yeah, Wesley Hunt sniffed him out. So did Tom Oliverson, and so did El Senador. And we'll get you the update when we come back. You're listening to Chris X Radio. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Elections have consequences. So does your radio dial. Don't touch it. Chris X Radio returns after this.
Let's be honest. No one ever thinks about their garage until it stops working. Don't wait until a simple garage door repair becomes a major problem. If your garage is noisy or if it struggles to open, your garage door is in need of repairs. Recommended all over Houston, Garage Door Doctor is your trusted partner for all your garage door needs. Let the experts at Garage Door Doctor tune up your garage door and keep it running for a lifetime. Schedule an appointment today at garagedoordoctor.biz or call today.
Hey, are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? Well, my friends at Lone Star Transfer, they are the only company I trust to help you. Now, they have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, and they have thousands of five-star reviews. Now, their customer service is their top priority. Now, for a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, call now at 833-594-0075. That's 833-594-0075. On the web, it's LoneStarTransfer1word.com.
Hey all y'all, this is Bill Nash, and I'm excited to invite you to our annual Texas Best Music Fest at Moe's Place in Katy, benefiting Champions Kids Camp, a camp for children who have survived an accident, an illness like cancer, or the loss of a parent or sibling. Our headliners this year include Scotty Alexander, Austin-based singer, songwriter, musician, and recording artist who was Wayne Newton's music director for 8 years, touring extensively with Wayne. Also performing will be Hayden Baker, gifted guitarist and singer from Katy, and David Lewis, who has played the Opry circuit all over Texas, featuring his mixture of Brad Paisley and George Strait music. And last but not least, we have the Nashes, my son Jimmy, my wife Kimmy, and Billy. No, wait, that's my son's name. Anyway, I'm Bill Nash, and we'll be doing our biggest hits too. General admission tickets will be available at texasbmf.com. That's texasbmf.com. Help us help these kids by going to championskidscamp.org and become a sponsor. That's Sunday, June 1st at Moe's Place in Katy. Hope to see y'all there.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio.
Yeah, here's another one we played from the 90s. You know what's cool? I had heard it years ago, and then, of course, I went back and was watching some of these producers on podcasts, and they talk about, because you know a lot of times when bands do songs, especially like Foo Fighters, when it was Dave Grohl, he does each track individually, each of the drums, the bass, the guitar, the vocals, and then there you go. Well, when they recorded this album, along with a lot of the Van Halen albums and some of the others, they record them together as a band. Now, they record them on individual tracks, but they're playing as a band together, recording it. And you can kind of tell when you listen to this album and this song. This is a great one. All right, welcome back to Chris X Radio. Oh, it's Even Flow by Pearl Jam, by the way. What I loved about playing this song, when Pearl Jam came to Houston, actually, imagine he did it in multiple concert venues, wherever they were playing, I don't remember. But that was the one where Eddie Vedder would climb up to the ceiling of the club or whatever, and basically hang upside down, singing from the rafters, and it was usually during this song. And the funny part was I remember us playing it on the Richmond Strip, and I did very similar. I didn't climb to the roof because we were outdoors, but I climbed up the light pole on top of the speakers, and then, of course, I was young and stupid back then, so I jumped. I crawled to the middle of the lights, the light rack, I guess, that was, 15 feet up in the air at least. And I was hanging, not upside down, and then I dropped. I had the wireless microphone with me, so then I dropped in the middle. I remember doing that. Man, if I tried to do that now, I'd lose both my knees, and no wonder my back hurts all the time.
What did you land on, dude?
The stage. It was a wooden stage.
Oh, God.
It didn't
So you
hurt.
wouldn't do that today, huh?
Yeah, no, can't do that today. I was young back then.
Yeah, the things we do when we're young, and we look back and we think, oh, God, we were stupid. My brother did this one time, and I didn't do it. There was a trestle that ran over the water, a train trestle at the park near where we grew up. Yeah, you can figure. He walked right across that thing. I don't know why. But like you said, and we all say, young and dumb things we do. And that was one of the things he did. There were some other stupid things, but I'm not going to say them on the air. I don't want to encourage anybody. But
don't get them in trouble.
Don't get them in trouble, and don't get me in trouble. So, hey, man, I was just doing what that dude on the radio said. Now someone's going to do what you did, Chris, and boy, you're in trouble.
I don't, dude. Hey, don't do it.
If you need Chris's contact number, just call me up here at the station. As long as they get 50% of that lawsuit.
It's called 911 if you're going to jump off anything high. I have a few friends that would do that. I remember we used to walk across the train trestle across San Jacinto River. I remember doing that a few times, and I have a few friends that jumped off of it. Now, I never did that because I didn't know what was in that water, so I wasn't about to do that. But it was young, man. I was in college. I was playing baseball every week. I was in good shape, and I was skinny. I weighed, not half what I weigh now, but I weighed a lot less. I can say that. I was probably, maybe 170 pounds maybe. So I was lean, didn't have a whole lot of fat on me, and could do that kind of stuff. And we were stupid and contagious. So there you go. It was the 90s. All right, welcome back to Chris X Radio. That was fun stuff. It's hilarious as I remember going and playing, and then we'd play another club, and somebody would come up and be like, "Hey, were you that guy that did that, or were you in that band that did this?" And it's just funny what people remember. But they were coming to be entertained, so we entertained them with good music and stupid antics. And there were people that did far crazier things than me. I didn't do a whole lot of crowd surfing. I didn't do that just because I remember there was a couple of clubs, one of them Sam's Boat, and then the other, which we would still play it. We used to play Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine. But when we played Sherlock's on Westheimer, they forbid us from playing that song because there were times the crowd would get so rowdy, they would knock over the speakers and break stuff, and it would cost the club money. So they would forbid us to play certain songs. But, I remember the only time I ever did anything sort of like crowd surfing, I remember we had a rowdy crowd at Sam's Boat. One time it was the winter and it was cold, and we had people outside. And I don't know, there's probably 2,000 people there. I don't even remember how many you would hold. But I started to go do a little crowd surfing, and it gets so rowdy, they were going to push me out the damn club. And I said, get me back to this stand. I'm like, no, I got to get back. Can't do that anymore. I learned my lesson pretty quick. So I was like, okay, don't do that. All right, welcome back to Chris X Radio. Glad to have you here with us. I'm still reminiscing because I can't believe our former drummer, that was Larry when we were playing, Larry Wagner passed away. He was our drummer back then. And man, he was good. He knew how to work an audience. He was crazier than me, a whole lot crazier. It's probably why I'm still alive, barely. Who knows? All right, so I wanted to cover this article, as I said. There's an article today from Holly Hansen over the Texan.news, if you want to go check it. This ties in with what the Amigos talked about last Friday, and I think it happened last Thursday. I mentioned it when I saw it before they talked about it, and talked about it last Thursday or Wednesday. I don't remember. Anyway, a Houston television station, KPRC Channel 2, that used footage from Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler in a news report about the Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District's exclusion of controversial materials from textbooks has drawn public outcry and condemnation from federal and state lawmakers. If you were listening to the Amigos, you heard Wesley Hunt, he's a federal, and then, of course, Tom Oliverson, the state lawmakers. Quote, in the same week that CBS host Margaret Brennan outrageously blamed the Holocaust on too much free speech, you had Channel 2, KPRC, taking it even further using Nazi imagery in a story about Cy-Fair ISD trustees, Wesley Hunt, rep for District 38, my district here. By the way, he's been fantastic. Wesley is solid. I remember there were people that were worried, I don't know about Wesley. The dude's solid. He's been fantastic. Said in a statement to the Texan, say, quote, from the FCC. So, I don't know what just happened. Can you still hear me, Captain Jack? Oh, okay. Something cut out, but yeah, okay, you're back now. All right, yeah, that was weird. Anyway, okay. So Wesley Hunt said this isn't journalism, it's propaganda, and he's planning to request an investigation from the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. In the segment aired by KPRC Houston last week, reporter Joel Eisenbaum, who normally does a really good job, I don't know what was going on with this. He led with footage of Adolf Hitler giving a speech and Nazis burning books, while Eisenbaum narrated book banning in one form or another goes back a long time, and now it's fashionable again, at least in some of our school districts. Strategically vague, but not so vague. His story was regarding the 6-1 vote by Cy-Fair ISD board members last May to remove 13 chapters from science and health textbooks that the board president, Scott Henry, told the Texan that lacked balance. Quote, the problem was not that these texts brought up a subject, but that they didn't offer a counterpoint, he said. If you're going to teach something that's controversial, teach a balanced approach. That's all we're ever asking. According to Henry, the chapters removed included negative portrayals of the oil and gas industry, claims that the earth cannot sustain the human population, and positive views of assisted suicide. I'm not a genius, but those can be some pretty, especially here in Texas, some pretty controversial topics. Although the textbooks are approved by the State Board of Education, school districts have the option they can adapt materials in accordance with local preferences, because that's what they do. Now, SBOE, was that the State Board of Education? Member Julie Pickren told the Texan that Cy-Fair ISD actions were not only appropriate, but also legal. The Cy-Fair ISD trustees went above and beyond to review and edit the content of their science book submissions to ensure their students have the highest quality materials that are compliant with the U.S. Constitution, the Texas Constitution, state laws, and the values of the community that elected them. She said, Pickren said in a statement, when the science book adoption happened in Proclamation 2024, the Texas Education Agency did not have a process for checking instructional material submissions for compliance with the U.S. Constitution or Texas Constitution and state law. The KPRC story prompted State Rep Tom Oliverson, Republican from Cypress, also my area, to contact the station with his objections. He called the report beyond the pale. In an initial response to Oliverson, news director Anna Lastra defended Eisenbaum's reporting. But on Tuesday night, the station removed the segment. While the facts of the story remain undisputed, we acknowledge that some elements may be perceived as inflammatory and could detract from the core issue, she said in a statement. As journalists, our responsibility is to accurately reflect facts and information, but I recognize the trust in our work can be undermined by such distractions. So they pulled it down. Hunt said the removal was an admission of guilt and acknowledgement that the piece was inflammatory, offensive, and blatantly political. If their story was truthful and ethical, why remove it, he said, or he asked Wesley Hunt. If it wasn't, why did they publish it in the first place? Some pretty good questions with an election coming up. Now, in 2023, 3 Republican-backed candidates were endorsed by Ted Cruz, Senator Paul Betancourt, El Senador, and Tom Oliverson won seats on the Cy-Fair ISD board, joining Scott and 2 other GOP-backed board members, giving the conservatives control of the 3rd largest school district. Now, Betancourt, of course, blasted KPRC on social media last week. We talked about it. And, of course, he did the same thing on the show on Friday, calling the segment outlandish propaganda. It's pretty propagandistic if you've seen it. Prior to the elections, parents in the community had become increasingly vocal in opposition to the elements of critical race theory being embedded in curricula and age-inappropriate books in school libraries. Cy-Fair ISD, as well as neighboring Katy and Spring Branch ISDs, have moved to remove controversial materials from school libraries, including LGBT titles such as genderqueer and flamer, after concerned parents read sexually explicit materials aloud at school board meetings to highlight the graphic nature of the books. These school board meetings are like, you can't say these kind of things like this. But they wanted it to be allowed in schools, which shows the insanity, the lunacy of this, which is liberalism is a mental disorder. Both Cy-Fair ISD and Katy ISD trustees have adopted policies requiring staff to notify parents if a student requests accommodations related to gender dysphoria. 3 Cy-Fair ISD board members, including Henry, will be running for re-election later this year. Hunt suggested that KPRC's coverage amounted to election interference. Quote, President Trump's victory in November made one thing crystal clear. The American people have rejected political activism masquerading as journalism, he said. But instead of learning their lesson, the media is doubling down, pushing dangerous, slanted narratives to smear those they disagree with. If you missed the Amigos last Friday and that segment on it, you need to go listen to Wesley Hunt. What he said was dead on. And Tom Oliverson, too. Of course, El Senador as well. So go back and listen to theirs, and of course you want to go back and listen to our podcast from last week. You can get it anywhere now, but it's also over at the Facebook on our website, KSCVradio.com, and then go to podcast, and you can find mine or the Amigos or whoever right there. Go check it out. They keep calling it, like I said, they're saying book burning. No, we're just taking it out of schools. Inappropriate material for children. You can still go get the books elsewhere. But we're not going to allow our tax dollars to pay for it, and not going to allow these leftist teachers to push it to children without balanced response. That, folks, is propaganda. And then turn right around to the lefty media, who turns right around and tries to compare it to Nazis and Hitler. Well, I love the fact they literally showed Adolf Hitler, literally showed Nazis burning books, and then mentioned, hey, this is back in fashion again at school ISDs, and then went back and targeted these ISDs and said, well, that wasn't directly related. Why was it even in the story then? Because it was. They're lying to us. They're leftist propaganda. That was leftist propaganda. And for the life of me, I don't know what Joel Eisenbaum was thinking. I don't know if maybe he didn't know. I'm sure he did. He had to have. He's generally a good reporter. He generally does a pretty good job. But when I saw it, I was surprised how obvious it was. Anyway, if you want to read the whole story, go to thetexan.news and read Holly Hansen. All of her work is great. She has a couple other great stories that came out last week. So go check that out. Let's go ahead and take a break. I'm going to open up the phones if you want to join us. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. Don't go away. We'll be right back to wrap up this first hour, and then we'll get you locked and loaded for hour number 2 as well, where we'll take a whole lot more of your calls. Here's some good old school Ozzy. Never played this one live. Great song, though. I don't know. There's one band. What was the name of that band played it? They nailed it, too. I can't remember. Man, it was so much fun. I used to love going and watching bands. Not only the big name bands that would come through town, but all the local cover bands were so much fun back in the 90s. Oh, and by the way, got to give a shout-out, to Joe. Was it Joe? Yeah, Joe. The country place that I couldn't remember on Richmond was Wild Wild West. It was originally, I think, Billy Blues. I think it was Billy Blues or something like that. And then I think eventually right near it would get the Rock Bottom Brewery or whatever. So it was hard to keep up. Man, there were boys like Cardi's he mentioned. So he saw Sean, my guitar player buddy, doing his acoustic thing at Cisco's, which is coming up soon in Tomball. All right, 281-558-KSEV. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Chris X here for Patriot Mobile, America's only conservative Christian wireless company. You should know that by now. Are you tired of supporting these companies that don't share your principles and values? It's time to move over. Take your hard-earned dollars away from these Marxist companies that don't like us and use your money against your values. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar they earn to these organizations that actually fight for the causes that you care about. You can go check them out. Patriot Mobile donated over $2.3 million to Christian and conservative causes last year. They're going to do more this year. Patriot Mobile gives you that alternative to those woke companies that don't like us, and they use our money to take away our rights and our freedoms. They have exceptional coverage on the nation's best 4 and 5G networks. They use the exact same towers as all the woke carriers and all the big names. They have plans that'll fit any budget. Now, that includes multi-line users as well. So if you need phones and lines for the whole family, they can do that for you. And for around half of what Big Mobile will charge you to do it. So you save a whole lot of money, you get better service, and then it's going to a good cause. They also have something called the Patriot Mobile One service. Ask them about that. That's where you can get access to all 3 networks on a single device. So you'll have the most reliable coverage anytime, anywhere on one device. I don't know of anyone else that does that. So when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you take away your support for the leftist progressive agendas of Big Mobile, add it to the conservative Christian causes of Patriot Mobile, a great company that's actually in line with your values and your principles. They also do discounts for veterans and first responders, so they're taking care of those who take care of us. Switching is easy. Everybody's worried about switching. I know before I switched, everybody's like, man, I'm so worried. You can do everything online at patriotmobile.com/KSEV. patriotmobile.com/KSEV. You can do everything there, or call them on their U.S.-based customer service line. You can do that. Oh, wow. Americans in America? What a concept. 972-PATRIOT is the number. When you call them, make sure you use offer code KSEV, and you'll get free activation and save even more money. That's offer code KSEV. All right, patriotmobile.com/KSEV, or call them directly at 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900, or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900, or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Check-A Pro Joe here. Join me every Saturday at 1 p.m. for my radio show. My guest this week will be Cody Johnson from Garage Door Doctor. For all of your garage door needs, contact Garage Door Doctor at 281-343-3632.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
And now, back to Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio on the voice of Texas.
An article over at Breitbart, the House Oversight Committee, according to them, $241 million were spent on transgender surgeries and treatments on animals. Well, like I said, you don't want to misgender an animal or anything. Dear Lord. Dear Lord. Where are we? Fortunately, we're heading back in a better direction. And watching the media and lefties lose their minds over this tells you everything you need to know. It's going to be new outrage every day over Donald Trump. For 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, it was the end of the world every day because of Donald Trump. He was the worst thing ever. We learned it was all garbage. They're all paid propaganda, and there you have it. And now they're back after ignoring the propaganda from the Biden administration for 4 years. After everybody should have known, we said it, Joe Biden was incapacitated. The guy, he was at the very least diminished severely mentally. No, they all lied for it for 4 years until it was put on display. That's why you guys need to watch that Sean Ryan podcast with Lindy Lee on it. She was there. She saw it from the inside. But there's a whole lot more on there. It's pretty good. By the way, here, before we run out of the first hour, got to give Matt credit on this one. I don't know where he got this, but he says somebody texted him, not my idea, but somebody suggested DOGE should be renamed Federal Agency of Financial Oversight. I'll let you think about it for a second. Federal Agency of Financial Oversight. FAFO. That was the first thing Ben Ferguson, sorry. Too many Bens. Strusan's, Shapiro's. Ben Ferguson mentioned that. That was what he said the new Trump thing should be FAFO. I think that's pretty solid. All right, gang, we're done. Hour number 1. We're not done. Hour number 2 is locked and loaded. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.